The Mother Myth Exposing Maternal Narcissism. Welcome back to the Family Roles series Inside School of Soul. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and today we're dismantling one of the most protected, untouchable figures in dysfunctional families, the narcissistic mother. This episode is called The Mother Myth, because everything you've been told about motherhood, unconditional love, selfless sacrifice, feminine warmth, can become the very mask that hides abuse in plain sight. This is not an easy episode to watch, because we're going to confront the emotional betrayal that happens when the person who was supposed to love you the most becomes your first manipulator. For many people, especially daughters, the trauma of maternal narcissism doesn't start with violence. It starts with enmeshment, competition, covert control, and the slow erosion of identity. And the reason this pain often goes unacknowledged is because society demands silence when the abuser is a mother. We're taught that mothers can't be dangerous, that questioning your mother is disrespectful, that setting boundaries is betrayal, that forgiveness is automatic. And for many survivors, that programming keeps them stuck in cycles of guilt, self-blame, and emotional servitude long after they've left the house. So let's get clear. Narcissistic mothers are not just difficult or overbearing. They operate through highly calculated systems of emotional manipulation, triangulation, favoritism, and rewriting reality. Their goal is not to raise you into your full self. Their goal is to keep you useful, compliant, and emotionally orbiting around their needs. A narcissistic mother often sees her children, especially her daughters, not as individuals, but as extensions of herself. You are valuable when you reflect well on her. You are rewarded when you play the role she assigns. But the moment you assert independence, have your own opinions, or begin shining in ways she doesn't control, she shifts. The praise turns to criticism. The connection becomes competition. The warmth becomes coldness or passive aggression. And the punishment is rarely overt. It's silent. It's strategic. It's a withdrawal of affection that forces you to chase her approval, time and time again. Maternal narcissism is especially dangerous because of how early it begins. Children don't know how to separate their mother's behavior from their self-worth. If your mother glares at you, withdraws from you, mocks you in front of others, or dismisses your emotions, you internalize it. You think you're the problem. And that belief becomes the foundation of your adult identity. You don't learn to trust yourself. You learn to monitor, adjust, apologize, and shrink to stay safe. One of the clearest markers of a narcissistic mother is favoritism and triangulation. She divides her children into roles: the golden child, the scapegoat, the helper, the invisible one. These roles aren't based on who you really are, they're based on how well you reflect her ego. The golden child is often the obedient one, praised and paraded. The scapegoat is usually the truth teller, the one who won't play along. And once those roles are set, she uses them to pit siblings against each other, ensuring that loyalty goes to her, never to each other. This fragmentation keeps everyone dependent on her attention. It's emotional divide and conquer, and it ensures that no one feels safe enough to challenge her narrative. Because the moment you try, she'll recruit the others to question your motives, mock your memories, or call you ungrateful. That's not maternal love. That's systemic control. Narcissistic mothers also engage in emotional incest, especially with sons. This doesn't always mean sexual boundary violations. Often, it's psychological enmeshment. She treats her son like a surrogate partner, confides in him about adult issues, leans on him for emotional support, and expects his loyalty over anyone else, including his future partners. Sons of narcissistic mothers often grow up unable to form healthy attachments because they were raised to meet the emotional needs of a woman who should have been their protector, not their dependent. For daughters, the dynamic often includes competition. A narcissistic mother may feel threatened by her daughter's youth, beauty, intelligence, or independence. She'll disguise her jealousy as advice, her sabotage as concern, and her withholding as tough love. And because this rivalry is rarely named, daughters grow up feeling guilty for their own growth. They downplay their success. They hide their light. They silence their intuition just to avoid triggering their mother's insecurity. And the most insidious form of maternal narcissism is covert manipulation. These mothers don't rage, they guilt. They don't scream, they martyr. They present themselves as the victim in every situation. They talk about how hard they've worked, how ungrateful you've become, and how nobody understands what they've sacrificed. This keeps you trapped in an emotional debt cycle. You feel like you owe them your time, your energy, your compliance because they did their best. But let's be clear. Doing your best doesn't include psychological warfare. It doesn't include identity erasure. It doesn't include emotional starvation, public humiliation, or private gaslighting. Your mother may have carried you, but that doesn't mean she raised you. Some of us were birthed by women who never planned to let us become whole. And when you start waking up to that, everything changes. The first step is recognizing that this wasn't your fault. You didn't cause the dynamic. You didn't imagine the imbalance. You didn't deserve the manipulation. You were trained into a role before you had the ability to reject it. And now that you see it, you can step out of it. But stepping out isn't easy. Because maternal narcissism wires your nervous system to feel unsafe in your own autonomy. The moment you assert a boundary, your body will register danger. The moment you say no, you'll feel guilt. The moment you shine, you'll feel shame. That's because you were programmed to believe that love meant self-erasure, that being a good daughter or a good son meant sacrificing yourself to preserve the image of the woman who gave you life. But real love doesn't ask for submission. Real love nurtures your individuality. Real love creates safety, not performance. Breaking free from the narcissistic mother requires clarity and repetition. You have to repeat your boundaries, repeat your truth, repeat your new narrative until the old one loses power. You stop explaining, you stop justifying, you stop arguing with someone committed to misunderstanding you. And yes, grief comes with this process. You grieve the mother you needed, the protection you never got, the safety you were denied. That grief is sacred. Let it rise. Let it move. Because once it passes, what's left is truth. And truth is what will anchor you when the manipulation returns disguised as love. You owe no one your silence. You owe no one your compliance. You were not born to play support to someone who never allowed you to exist as your own person. The mother myth is just that, a myth. Motherhood does not equal sainthood. And once you see behind the illusion, you stop internalizing the abuse as your burden. You were not the difficult one. You were the awakened one. And now that you see it, you don't have to carry it.